Let's see. I got started on this, I think most of the time when we wake up, we need a wake-up call. And I was in Palm Springs, California. I was in a triathlon. I was on a biking portion of the race, and I was making a turn, and I was passing two cyclists on the corner. And there was a cadet, a police officer, kind of pointing at me, waving on to make the turn, like this.
Okay.
And he had his back to the oncoming traffic. So when I made the turn, a four-wheel drive Bronco going about 55 miles an hour caught me from behind and catapulted me out of my bike.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, when you land that hard on your rump or on your back, the force of that compression takes the columns of the vertebrae and compresses them. So I had broken 6 vertebrae in my spine.
Goodness.
And I had bone fragments on my spinal cord, and the very top segment, the 8th thoracic vertebrae, I broke T8, T9, T10, T11, T12, and L1. And T8 took the compressive force, and I flexed, and so when I flexed, it compressed that vertebrae more than 60%, and the arch, where the spinal cord passes through, broke like a pretzel. So I had multiple compression fractures of my thoracic spine. I had bone fragments on my cord, because when you compress a volume of something, the volume has to go somewhere. So it went back on the cord, and the neural arch of the 8th thoracic vertebrae was compressing the cord as well.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, a typical procedure for something like that is called the Harrington rod surgery. And they cut off the back parts of your vertebrae. It's called a laminectomy. In my case, it would be from the base of my neck to the base of my spine.
Got chills.
And then they screw in these stainless steel rods, and the action of screwing into the bone causes a cantilever. It kind of pulls the column off the cord in some cases and opens up the nerve supply. And then they take bone fragments from your hip, and they paste it over the top, and they hope for the best. And so I had 4 opinions from 4 of the leading surgeons in Southern California, and it was unanimous that I needed that procedure. Now, I was in a lot of pain. I had some neurological problems, and they told me if I didn't have the surgery, I would never walk again. So I decided against the surgery. And I thought I didn't want to live handicapped, I didn't want to be in a wheelchair, and I didn't want to be addicted to pain medication. So I thought I might as well take a chance here. So I didn't really know what I was doing
I was going to say,
the
the chance on what? Did you know what the alternative was?
Well, I think that I believed that this voice kept coming up in my head saying, the power that made the body heals the body. And I thought, well, God, this power is an intelligence, and intelligence is consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. Awareness is paying attention. It must be paying attention to me.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did you think this way prior to that incident?
Yeah, to some degree. I think that most of us are philosophical to some degree. You know, we have a philosophy about life.
So do I.
But when you're initiated, that means you have to initiate that philosophy. So
Love that.
I had to take what I knew and weigh it against what I didn't know. And I think one of the worst places we wind up as human beings is indecision. And so I had very, very strong authorities telling me, you're never going to walk again, you have a head injury, I don't know why you're deciding against the surgery. If it was my son, it would be on the operating table. Anyway, I checked out of the hospital, and I began the process. I wasn't going anywhere, I wasn't doing anything. I was laying face down, and I said, I'm not going to let any thought slip by my awareness that I don't want to experience. And if this intelligence is truly a consciousness, I have to be present with it. And so what I did was I just started reconstructing my spine in my mind, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then, you know, I'd start off doing that, and the next thing you know, I'd start thinking about, should I sell my home, should I sell my practice? And I realized that the template, the design that I was creating wasn't complete. So I'd stop, start all over again, get frustrated, then it would get harder. And
it sounds like me when I began meditating.
Yes, it's the same thing, because meditation requires being present, and that's a skill. You got to practice it. So I didn't have a teacher at the time. I was just going off my intuition, and it would take me 3 hours to go through the whole entire process just to complete it. And I'd start all over because I wanted it to be a complete model. So 6.5 weeks of just a dark night of the soul. Because I think when we're traumatized or we're under stress, we tend to focus on what we don't want to have happen and what we do want to have happen. And I think in survival, we're always preparing for the worst case scenario. So it was a battle that I couldn't get my mind to do what I wanted to do. At the end of 6.5 weeks, one day, I went through the whole entire thing without breaking my focus, and I swear it was like hitting a golf ball right in the sweet spot. It just clicked, and I clicked. And from that moment on, my body started to heal.
That's incredible.
I started to have less pain, my neurological symptoms were diminishing. And the moment I started to correlate the changes that were happening in my body with what I was doing inside of me, I started doing it with more passion and more enthusiasm. Anyway, I was back on my feet in 9.5 weeks. I was back training again at 12 weeks.
Come on.
I was back in my practice, and you know, they told me that I would have to wear this body cast for a year, 6 months to a year. And well, gosh, I put it on once and took it off and said, there's just no way I'm going to wear this. And so I just made a deal with myself. And the deal was, in those lonely nights where I couldn't sleep, if I'm ever able to walk again, I'll spend the rest of my life studying the mind-body connection and mind over matter. And pretty much that's what I've been doing.